We are live. Let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a returning special guest. We have Natalie Joly. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It's Wednesday in Texas, hot, wet, all the things. So
Regular day.
right. We're starting to get starting to get muggy out because we're in rainy season, whatever that means here. So
Nashville is very similar. It's been raining around the clock, so.
Right. So excited to have you back on. I was been listening to your new song here for the last week and a half, right? Because it dropped on the 11th.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Friday will be 2 weeks. So
nice. So how's it feel to have a new song out in the world?
It feels amazing. I feel like it took a lot longer than it should have because, life just gets in the way. But I am so excited to have it out. This is a song I've been sitting on for a little while. It's a little out of my comfort zone. It's definitely a little more pop than I usually have been releasing in recent times. So it was a little bit of like, I don't know if I want to do this. Should I not? And I was like, you know what? Just rip off the Band-Aid. We're going for it. I don't care. I like the song. This is kind of a release for me. It felt good at this time, and I was just like, I'm going for it. So I went for it, and it's gotten a really good response. And that's the best thing you can ask for, when you're putting your heart and soul into new music. When people have a good response to it, just means the world. So it's been going great.
Right. Awesome. What kind of triggered I don't want to say genre change, but like the new influence, or however you kind of want to word it?
Yeah, honestly, I wrote this song a few years ago back when I really was diving into learning how to produce my own music. And I was messing around with new synth tones and drum pads that I was just getting accustomed to. So I was just writing some beats and some synth parts just to play around and find what sounds that I liked. And I landed on this. I wrote this drum beat and I loved it. I actually wrote this drum beat in a different song first, and that song was just like not really my style. I love it. I still listen to it myself, but not something I would put out. And I was like, I really liked that drum beat. I'm gonna take it, slow it down a little bit, and put it into a new song. And that's how I wrote Wayside. And I wrote it on my computer. Like I wrote it to a drum track and a synth pad, which is so unusual for me. I usually write music just me and my guitar or me and a piano. So I play this song out now at writers' rounds and stuff just on my acoustic guitar, and it just feels so like unnatural because that isn't how I wrote it. And I've learned to love it, but it took me a minute. This song definitely came to be in a very unique way for me, writing it just to basically a synth part. And that's just kind of where it was born.
Nice. So naming the song is Wayside. What you said, you wrote this a few years back. Was this like right after the pandemic or kind of towards the tail end of it?
I would say I wrote this song in maybe 2022,
Okay.
2023. So it was in the middle of it. And there's definitely like a little bit of that kind of messaging in there. It's not exactly a love song, not exactly a heartbreak song. It's kind of like, what is this song? Especially when I was going through like the messaging for it. I was even kind of asking myself, like, what really was this about? What was I writing this about? And I actually remember at the time, we were going through COVID and everything was really crazy. And I had seen a meme online that was like, do you ever feel like you're in a narcissistic relationship with the government? And I was like, that is such a cool idea because unfortunately, I've been in a few of those narcissistic relationships myself. I'm very well versed on that. I wish I wasn't, but I am. And I was like, that's such an interesting idea that you could be in a toxic, narcissistic relationship in a way that isn't romantic. So that's where the song kind of came from, was just the idea of like, You can be in an unhealthy relationship with just about anything. It can be a person, it can be an entity, it can be a job, it can be a drug or a product, it can be anything. And that's really where this song came from, about just trying to wrap your head around realizing you're in one of those bad patterns
Hmm.
and deciding to get out of it. So that's really what Wayside is about.
You just shed a whole bunch of light on some stuff that I've been dealing with for the last 3 years. Wow. In the
And
matter of the
now we have a
last,
therapy session.
right? In the matter of 3 minutes, you've just explained my life for the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
That is,
You're,
yeah.
I'm sorry, but also you're welcome. I don't know.
I don't know how to take it, but thank you. That's what I will give you for that one. Thank you. I appreciate it. So,
Give me a day.
um, with the song out now, do you kind of see yourself sticking more in a pop genre, or do you feel like this is just kind of like a one-off thing and everything else will kind of go back to business as usual?
A little bit of both. I think yes and yes to both of those questions. I think right now I'm really just in a space where I've always been in between the rock, pop, and country genres, and I've never fully fit into any one of them. In the rock world, I was always too country. In the country world, I'm too rock. In the pop world, it's too heavy.
Right.
So I don't fully fit into any one of those three genres, and that bothered me for a long time. I definitely wanted to like have a solid home, or I guess I kind of felt like I wanted people to really understand what I was doing and why is everyone so confused by it? Because
Hmm.
to me, it of course makes sense.
Hmm.
But I think right now I'm just in a frame of mind where I'm just owning it. And this is what it is. I don't fit into any one genre, and I'm just gonna embrace that. And some songs that I put out might lean a little bit more pop, some might be more country, some might be more rock. But at the end of the day, they're all going to be Natalie. They're all going to have the same elements. They're all going to have my signature harmonies that I love. They're all going to have my little guitar solos that I put in there. Like, I write most of the instrumentation parts myself, so they're all going to have that cohesion. They're just going to be a little bit different in terms of the style of them. And I'm okay with that. I'm at a point now where I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to prove myself to anyone anymore. And I just want to make music that makes me happy, which is kind of what this project is. Wayside was the first song of five that I
Yes.
have right now that I'm working on. So in that five, like two of them are a little bit poppy, two of them are a little more country, one is a little more rock. So I'm doing this mixture and for the first time, I'm just owning it.
Nice. Luckily, nowadays, I feel like the whole genre identity thing doesn't quite matter as much as it used to.
Yeah.
I mean, in radio terms, it probably matters a little bit, but even then, I've heard stuff that I wouldn't even classify as country on country station. So, like, I don't even think then it matters. So,
Yeah, I agree. I definitely had a realization like I've always branded myself as being in the rock world,
hmm,
right? And that's where I come from. I was
yeah.
raised on classic rock music. I'm never going to say that I was raised on Dolly Parton because I was not. I love Dolly now, but in terms of my musical background and where I come from, I was raised on the Beatles,
Hmm.
Aerosmith, AC/DC, Rolling Stones. But I was also raised on like the Eagles and Lynyrd
Hmm.
Skynyrd and Tom Petty, which if they came out today, they would be considered country music for sure.
Hmm.
Like Free Fallin' would be considered a country song. And that's what I was raised on. And I just had to kind of admit to myself that the genres have transformed, they've changed. What used to be considered rock and roll, it fits more in line with the country genre right now.
Hmm.
And songs that are in the rock categories right now, I'm like, what is this? This is not what I think rock is. This is not the kind of rock that I was raised on.
Hmm.
And that's fine. The definitions are just changing.
Yeah.
I had to kind of update my mindset with that and just accept it for what it was,
Right.
which is, there's nothing I can do about that. That's the market. That's what's happened. And like I said, I still don't really fit into any one genre, but I'm finally at a point where I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to make music that I love. I'm going to do it the best that I can and call it a day.
Nice, nice, nice. And so you said this was the first song of 5 songs that you have coming out. I'm guessing this year, or
This year. Yes.
are you going to release them all just as standalone singles, or do you have the idea of like releasing them as an EP at some point?
Right now, I'm going with the singles.
Hmm.
I toy with this a lot. I've been doing singles for a long time, for the last like, I don't know, 5 years. I haven't done anything that's a body of work. I've just been doing singles. And every once in a while, I'm like, maybe I'll do an album or an EP. But I always just come back to the fact that I want every song to truly get its moment. I
Hmm.
want every song to have its like spot on my
Yeah.
Instagram grid where like that is, you know, I'm focusing on it. And like I put my heart and soul into these songs. And the idea of having an EP that's like 5 or 7 songs with only 2 or 3 singles that really get promoted. I think as an independent artist, people just don't have the, bandwidth anymore. Everyone's
Hmm.
so busy. Everyone's like, it's like how they call us the playlist generation. Like we're
Hmm.
making our own playlist of songs we like. We're not going saying, oh, we love this song. I'm going to listen to the whole album. So in that regard, I feel like if you don't have like a Taylor Swift type following,
Hmm.
then people might not listen to those other songs. And then that's so sad to me. And I want every song to like really get its moment of
Hmm.
glory. So I'm sticking with the singles for now for that reason. But I still, in my heart, one day I will put together like a method album that is like all connected and like an Abbey Road. I would love to
Right.
do that. But
That's
I don't think right now is the time.
that's fair. And I've often told a lot of people, like, because obviously independent musicians, they have this struggle all the time of, do I release singles? Do I release an LP? Do I release an EP? Like, what do I release? And the consensus that I've come to is, unless you're out touring consistently, and not I'm not talking like, oh, I go to like Atlanta, or like I'm based in Nashville and I go to like Atlanta, Knoxville, and what's another close city? Like you're just doing like a little small loop. It's not worth your time. But if you're one of those musicians that, hey, I'm going on a 2 week run and I'm going to Phoenix and back,
Yeah.
then, and you're doing that consistently, then it's worth doing an album, because then it's like, okay, you have physical stuff to sell. Like, hey, you like my music, buy it here. There's
Yeah.
a whole method to the madness. So,
For sure. No, and that's how I feel too. And I also feel like when it comes to my live performances, whether it's acoustic or with a band, there's, there's songs that aren't even released yet that I play out live all the time. Some of them are going to be coming out
mhm,
this year finally.
yeah.
But, I'm also playing so I still want to give attention to the songs that I released 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago. I still love those songs, and I'm not gonna just so from in my world, kind of to what you're saying, where I'm not focused on touring right
Yeah.
now. When I'm playing out, like I have plenty of material to be focusing the show on and stuff like that, where I feel like it's a couple albums worth
Yeah.
of songs that kind of round that out without actually, putting together an album all at one time and trying to promote it all at the same time on a budget, independently funded, not to mention getting all the songs done at the same time. Like, I feel like that would take me so long to get those songs done and to fund it and to get all that packaged and ready to go that it would end up leaving me not releasing music for a really long
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I don't want to go a year or 18 months without releasing music just to put together an album.
Hmm.
I'd rather just keep, consistently showing up and showing people what I'm doing and consistently evolving in front of them.
Hmm.
I guess that's kind of my viewpoint right
Oh yeah,
now.
100%. I agree with you. Like, it's better to remain in front of people than to try and build out a an album for a tour. Like, and because after like 3 months, people forget you're there. Like,
Mhm.
and that's just kind of the harsh reality of the music industry, is after 3 months, if you haven't put something out, or if you're not promoting something, they tend to forget you're there. So,
Yeah, and I think people also, at least my experience is that I think people enjoy seeing the progress
hmm,
and the process, and they enjoy saying, like, wow, look where you're at now versus what your music sounded like 2 or 3 years ago, which, I'm still proud of that music and I still love it. But I think it shows people the process of who I am as a writer,
Hmm.
and which is always evolving, and as a producer, and what musicians I'm working with, and what kind of frame of mind that I'm in, because that's, your music is just a reflection of that. And I get a lot of feedback from people that are following along, seeing step by step the songs, and I think they like feeling like they're constantly keeping up with me, which is that's what I want. I
Hmm.
want people to want more. I want them to like the song and be waiting for the next one. And when you can release songs every couple months, it's easier to do that.
Hmm. 100%. I agree. So how's obviously you're super busy because did the music video for Wayside just released today or has that been out?
No, that came out a week after the song, so that's
Okay.
only been out like 4 or 5 days.
Okay. Because I
Yeah.
right before you like when we were jumping back and forth about because I think you had just messaged me to say that you were like about ready to jump on. And I saw your post that said that your music video was out, and I was like, dang it. Okay, I missed that one. And because I thought it just came out today, but now I guess I really missed it. So I'll have to go back
Yeah,
and
no,
check
you're
that out.
about 5 days late, but it's okay. I forgive you.
It happens. I try so hard, but it's
I give you so much credit. Like, I feel like I can barely keep up with myself and my friends, what they've got going on. People that work in, what you do, keeping up with all these artists and
yeah,
really staying on top of everything. I give you so much credit.
I appreciate that. And I was just look actually before you jumped on here, I was looking at the calendar and we are literally almost a year to the date the last time you were on.
Really?
Yeah, because you were on
Fun? I didn't
May
know
four,
that.
May 14th was when you were on, or when we released it last time. So I don't know
Wow.
exactly when we recorded it, but I'm gonna guess probably like that first week of May.
Yeah,
So
wow. Well, it's like our little anniversary then.
right, right, right.
Let's do it again next year.
Hopefully sooner, but
Yeah,
it is what
you're
it
right.
is. So the 5 songs that you're gonna release this year, they're all written, recorded, good to go.
They are written and partially
Okay.
recorded. They are in progress. I'm actually shooting all the content for them right now. I really want to get everything done and then just really work on the promotional side
Hmm.
of things without being in a fire drill where it's like, hey, I need a music video in 2 weeks. Let's go shoot it. I kind of have a tendency to get like that. So this time I was like, no, I'm going to do everything up front and be organized and have everything waiting for me to go in there and edit it. So I've been producing my own music for a few years now. This project, I did go into a studio
Mm.
and collaborated with another producer on it. So all of the parts that we recorded in studio, which was pretty much just drums and lead guitar parts, are all done. And the work that needs to be done on them is my end of things, which is tracking the rhythm guitars, the bass parts, keys,
Mm.
strings, whatever I want to add in there, and then of course all the vocals. And I am a super control freak, so I also like to edit, comp everything, make sure the parts are exactly what I want them to be, and then I ship them off to mixing and mastering. So all the work that needs to be done is my work. It's just a matter of time of when I get it done. I've been in the studio the last like 3 days straight trying to get the next one done, which I'm so excited about. It's actually a very similar topic
Hmm.
to Wayside. When I was working on the branding of the two songs, I kind of realized like, oh, these songs are actually written almost about the same thing, but the songs couldn't be more different. The music could not be more different. So I'm really excited because people have liked Wayside and they've liked the messaging
Hmm.
on it. And I'm like, oh, well, there's more where that came from, except it's totally different. It's on the opposite end of the coin musically. So I'm really excited about this next one.
Nice. Do you have a target time frame you'd like to get it out, or is it kind of like let's get it done and then we'll figure it out from there?
It's kind of let's get it done, but I'm shooting for late May, early June.
Okay.
So, I try not to put too much pressure on myself. There's a fine line between like holding yourself accountable
Hmm.
and, sticking to a schedule, but then also leaving yourself some wiggle room to say, hey, you know what? I want to make this the best it can be. And if it takes another week, it takes another week. If it takes another two, it is what it is. I don't like to cut corners when it comes to official releases. So I kind of give myself that window.
Sure. It's that's always a good like mindset to have, because I feel like people set these deadline like there's that fine balance of keeping deadlines versus having the perfect song. You know, like
Mhm.
I think people will push. There's some people will push deadlines so far down because they're waiting for that song to be perfect. But in reality, a song is never perfect,
You
right?
can always keep going back. You can always find critiques with it. You definitely, that's the fine line that I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? So, like, I'm definitely a bit of a perfectionist. I know
Mm-hmm.
this about myself. I've accepted this years ago. But at a certain point, you have to just say, I believe in the song, and the song is going to speak for itself. And I always think to music that I love, like the Rolling Stones is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Mm-hmm.
As a music producer, there's a lot about their songs I don't love. The things that are not in time, guitar tones that are totally off base, like things that I production wise don't love, but the song speaks for itself. And at a certain point, I just have to remind myself of that. Like, no one's going to be thinking of this as obsessively as I am. No one is listening so critically
Mm-hmm.
as I am, and the song will speak for itself. So you have to like, I like to give myself that wiggle room of like, okay, if I'm a week late on my deadline, 2 weeks, I'm not going to be upset about it
Mm-hmm.
because that's doable.
Yeah.
But after a certain amount of back and forth with my mixing guy, the mixing is really what gets me because I'm
Right.
like, can we just tweak this tiny thing, one more tiny thing, one more, and it's just like I could find tiny things
Mm-hmm.
forever. At a certain point, I just have to say, I'm the only one that's going to notice
Right.
this, and I need to just cut the cord and go with it. And then you kind of just like let it go.
Right.
You just like you let it go away, you let it fly, and then it's just at that point you make the decision to just enjoy the song and be happy with it and be proud of it and just stop criticizing
Right.
this thing that you love so much and just own it and just go with it.
Yep. I started doing this thing a couple years ago where, like, any video project that I was working on, I would like if it was a project that I was just nitpicking to death and I was like, oh, I'm not going to release it. It's not like this is wrong. And I was just like pointing out all these little things. I would write them down, like all these little things that I thought was wrong with it, and still push it out. Like just like, okay, I'm done, but here's what I think is wrong with it. And then 6, 9, 12 months later, I would go back into my notebook and read what I thought was wrong with it and go watch it and see if I pick up what was wrong with it. And 9 times out of 10, I couldn't even pick out what I thought was wrong with it back
Yeah.
in the day. So,
You also got to have some like trusted advisors.
mhm.
Like for me, my brother is that person. He's just really good at mixing music and understanding sonically how things should sound. We used to produce my music together, my brother and I.
Mhm.
And I'll send my songs to him. I'll get it to a certain point and I know what I'm thinking and I'll send it to him and sometimes he'll send me back exactly what my critiques are and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, so those are legitimate."
Yeah.
And then other times he's like, "This is great. Send it off." And I'm like, "Okay, so I'm being dramatic here. I'm
Right.
being it." But sometimes you need another person who isn't so close to the project. And I guess that can be yourself if it's
Mhm.
9 months later.
Right.
You're kind of at another headspace and you're not so wrapped up in it, but you definitely get really close to it when
Yeah.
you're the one working
Yeah.
on it.
Well, it's one of those things because all my video production friends, they're just as anal compulsive as I am about stuff. And so I already know if I send them something, they're going to nitpick stuff that it's like,
Oh no.
I'm not even looking at or I'm not even concerned
Yeah.
about because it's like, wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
And then it makes me feel good about myself because it's like, oh, I'm not that bad. But
Yeah.
then I go back into it and it's like,
Well,
okay.
you also gotta just keep in mind that there is no such thing as perfect.
Hmm.
No song is ever perfect. Like songs that I might think are perfect. I would love to go ask that band or that producer, did you have any critiques on this song? And I guarantee you they're like, oh, I wish I did these 5 things differently. But to me, it's perfect. And I love it because that's all I've ever heard.
Hmm.
So there's just no such thing as perfect, and you're always growing. Like there are some songs that I look back 2 years from now or 2 years ago that I'm like, oh, I wish that guitar tone was totally different. I went
Hmm.
in the wrong direction with that. But it's a learning process. And now I don't make those same mistakes on my music now. But if I hadn't released that song and made that mistake, I wouldn't have learned the lesson that I know now, you know? So it's kind of like, even though there are things I would love to change and go back, I'm grateful that I did make the mistakes because now I don't make them anymore.
Hmm.
So now I know that I don't want to do that. And there's some things you can't learn without doing it.
Right. And like those are the lessons, like you said, those are the lessons you don't forget. So,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when you've got hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of dollars wrapped up into the project, you know?
Yep.
So,
Really easy to obsess over those mistakes.
right, right, right. Oh, so where you kind of at show wise right now? Are you playing pretty consistently or are you kind of more focused on the recording aspect?
The recording definitely takes over my life when I'm in a season like this where I have so many songs going on at once
Mm,
and so many like I'm shooting music videos and content for everything because like I said, I just want to have all that done. So it's also that time, kind of sweet spot time of year here in Tennessee. It's not too cold and it's also not 98 degrees outside. So I want to get all this stuff done before the weather is crazy. So yeah, I've been taking a step back on the shows a little bit here and there, but no, I'm still playing out a good amount. I'm still doing writers rounds, showcases, and really focusing on, the back end of things for now.
mhm.
But you got to keep playing out. It like I every time I go too long without playing a show, I'm like I just start to get a little jittery and then when I go play a show, I'm like, "Oh, this is why I love it. This is why I
Right.
do what I do." So, the live performances definitely like keep the fuel on the fire for me. I love it. I love getting out there. I love meeting new people. I had a show the other night where we just all the artists just got along and vibed so well together
Mhm.
and I'm like, this is just so awesome. Like I just made five really good new friends,
Right.
and those are the things that I live for. So I definitely don't like to go too long, but my focus is being in the studio right now.
Nice. Nice, nice. And I'm assuming when you do play shows, it's all pretty much around Nashville, or do you get out a little bit?
Yeah, right now it's in Nashville for sure, staying local. I'm not really in the headspace of getting out and touring right
Mm,
now. I'm more so doing housekeeping, writing songs, working on my production, getting
mhm.
some merch together, which I'm really excited about, and those kind of things, rather than being out on the road. When you're on the road like that, it's just like you can't really get much else done. You're
Yeah.
just fully on the road. And it's just not, honestly, it's not really my thing. Some people love it. Not really. I'm more of a homebody. I love coming home to my own bed and my husband, and I have my studio at my house. It's kind of like my comfort zone. So,
Right, right. I tend to be a homebody until I get out and go on the road, and then it's like, I do really enjoy this. I enjoy it, like, because it's not like going to the bar where it's like, oh, you got to worry about 20 different things that could happen. Like this drunk guy could try and start a fight, or like whatever it is. Whereas when you're on the road and you're doing shows, you're there to do a task and
mhm.
then go on to the next one.
Yeah.
It's good times. So.
Yeah, I'm more of a at least right now in my life, I have so many different things going
Mhm.
on that it's hard for me to just shut everything else off and just
Right.
focus on just one.
Mhm.
So right now when I'm home and I am have access to my studio, I can go out and like Nashville is such a great place too because there are so many shows to play,
Mhm.
which is great. You can play a show every night of the week if you want to. So there's definitely no shortage of live events here. And like you're always meeting new people. There's still so many venues in town that
Mhm.
I haven't played yet that I want to play. So that's kind of my focus is just working on building that community here in town in
Mhm.
Nashville. I've been here about 3 years, but I still feel brand new. So
Nice.
I'm still focused on really building out that group here.
Nice. And so when you moved to Nashville 3 years ago, you moved from Boston, correct? Or back?
Yep, I'm from Boston, born and raised.
How long did it take for you to lose your accent? Because I obviously I know you're from Boston, but I do not hear it in your voice anymore or at
I
all.
never really had a thick Boston accent.
Hmm.
It's funny, I always say like my parents both do
Hmm.
very much. And none of my siblings and I do. Like it just like generationally just like fell off. But we are not from the city.
Hmm.
So like, my mom grew up like in the city.
Yeah.
And that's where the accent comes from. I grew up like 20 minutes outside
Hmm.
Boston in the suburbs, where, it wasn't all like my mom is like full-blooded
Yeah.
Italian and like comes from that like city Italian lifestyle, and they all have the thick accent. I didn't really grow up around that. I grew up like in suburbia, and even when I was like younger, I don't know, my family would tease me because I would have like I would just naturally say things with like a little bit of a Southern accent. And they were like, "Where did you come from? Who are you?" And I don't know. I just never really had that. But
Fair.
of course, coming down here doesn't help.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny. There's plenty of people in Massachusetts that don't have a Boston accent at
Hmm.
all.
Right.
And sometimes like I'll be like, "Okay, like sir, you're laying it on a little thick.
Right.
It's not all genuine."
Right. 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 I'm pretty sure I told you this story the last time we had you on, but my business partner, he's from Worcester. Um, and he was, for whatever reason, I can't tell he has an accent. Like every time we talk, like every once in a while, it's like, okay, I hear it there. Like there's a couple of key words, or if he throws in some like Boston slang, that's kind of when it really pops in. But
Yeah.
I don't hear it in him. And he's like, or a couple of years ago, he's like, my mother's coming to visit. If you meet or if you get a chance to talk to her, you'll hear it for sure in her. She is like the prototypical, stereotypical Boston accent to the nth degree. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Can't wait to hear it. She sounded fine to me.
Hear it.
I didn't hear it. I was just like, I mean, when I
My
think of,
mom really is. Like my
yeah.
parents, they can't say like they don't say the word horse.
Hmm.
It's like a hoss. Or like corn on the cob is con on the cob.
Yeah.
Like I don't do that at all. Like that's like there I will notice it sometimes in my singing actually. I was recording vocals earlier
Hmm.
today, and I actually noticed that like I don't quite pronounce my words great.
Hmm.
Kind of like leave the R off at the end of words, or
Yeah.
like I think that's kind of the Boston accent is a little bit of like it's kind of like lazy pronunciation, to
Mhm.
be honest.
Fair.
Like we're leaving out R's, we're kind of like rolling together words kind of thing. So I think that's where I get it is a
Hmm.
little bit of the like just like falling off at the end. And there are definitely words I use and phrases like I will never use the term like roundabout like
Hmm.
that not a thing, or like I still say like let's bang a Yui.
Yeah.
People don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like even when I say wicked all the
Oh,
time. Everyone laughs at me like, "What did you just say?"
dude.
And I never realized it was so weird until I
Right.
left. These that no one even they actually don't know what I'm saying.
Right.
Like
Like,
it's not that they're just like, "Oh, that's funny." Like they're like, "What did you just say and what does it mean?"
right.
I'm like, "You really don't know the word."
The only one that ever, like bang a Yui, all that stuff. Like yes, I'd never really heard that phrase before, but context clues can put it together. Like
Yeah.
it's like okay, rotary, roundabout. Like it all makes sense. The
It's a road.
wo- yeah.
The roundabout drives me insane. I don't know why. I think it's because also like they have tried to change those things
Hmm.
up north. Like they've tried to put up new signs where it's like roundabout. It's like, shut up. We all know what it's called. Like, don't try to change this now.
Right.
Like why are we changing words all of a sudden? Just call
Let's
it what
stop.
it
Yeah.
is.
But the one that always got me, and it took me a good little bit to kind of figure out what the hell they were talking about, was Packy. Like, let's go to the
Oh,
Packy. I was like,
yeah,
all right,
I say that all the time.
you got me there. I don't know what you're talking about. And then
Yeah.
he explained it to me, and I'm like, okay, now that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know, but so
Yeah, but like, it feels so weird to be like, let's go to the liquor store.
right,
You just run to the packy. Like,
right.
I don't know. There's just these phrases, and definitely it definitely is like when you Boston is a very unique, interesting city. Like now that I've gotten out of it and
Mm.
seen how other places work, Boston's very proud.
Mm-hmm.
People are very proud to be from Boston. They're very rooted there. They have generations of their family there. And there's a lot of that like hometown pride. Whereas like Nashville is totally the opposite. Like
Right.
most people you meet here are transplants. They don't have family here. They probably aren't staying here. A lot of people are here for 2 years and then they move on to somewhere else. In Boston, like you're meeting people who's like my great grandparents came
Mm-hmm.
over from Italy.
Right.
That's and we're all everyone's still there. So it's a very different thing. And like these phrases and the culture is so ingrained because
Mm-hmm.
it's like everyone you know says the same thing. And then like you go elsewhere and no one knows what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
it's
I
just an interesting thing.
I mean, I feel like Chicago is kind of the same way where I grew up. Like after my aunt passes away, every every all myself, my sister, and my cousins, we all moved away. Like none of us live in Chicago anymore, and we'll be the first generation to not live in Chicago. Like that actually just we all moved away. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I was the first kid in my nuclear family. There's four of us. I was the first one to leave the state.
Hmm.
Um, and even in like my extended family, there, me and like one other cousin have left the state. And like we talk about it, it's like, big Italian family. It's just not the norm. Like my parents grew up like Sunday dinner with all their cousins kind of
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
And I think it's a generational thing. I think like the internet and like feeling so close and being able to phone call, text, FaceTime, but you doesn't really feel like you're not there. And
Hmm.
like traveling is so easy now too. And like Nashville to Boston is such a quick, easy flight. I'm home for every holiday. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like I don't live there. I don't. I haven't lived there in 3 years, but I feel like I'm still a part of everything
Right.
because I've built that into my life. Like I know I'm gonna fly home so many times a year. I know I'm gonna be home for a week or two over Christmas. Like I just make that a priority. I love seeing my family. I love going home. I don't want to live there full time. I also love Nashville. I feel like my heart belongs here. I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. Obviously with music, but also just the culture here. I feel
Hmm.
like this is my spot. The Northeast is very go, go,
Yep.
go. It's very fast. It's very competitive. It's very like, it's stressful. And everyone's like moving really fast and everyone's just high energy and high strung. And I don't know. And I was like that when I lived there. And I come here and people, they walk to slower and they talk slower and they're just very living
It.
life. And I'm like, this is where my soul is meant to be. It's just a totally different culture. And
Hmm.
I never realized that the pace of life, the fast-paced life in Boston was stressing me out and giving me anxiety. And I didn't realize that until I left. I just thought that's what life was. It's all I ever knew. I lived in the same town my whole life. So it was like when I came here and I just like you can just like feel it's a different energy. And I'm not even saying it's better or worse. Like, I think some people thrive in that environment up north. I'm just saying I'm not one of those people. And I've learned that being here in Nashville that I am not one of those people. And I'm so grateful to have learned that.
Hmm.
Imagine if I never learned that about myself and I just kept living in a place that wasn't conducive to my personality. I remember during COVID, I learned that before COVID, I was gigging out like 5 nights a week in Boston. And I was always up late. My eating was all over the place. My sleeping schedule was crazy. Like it was just like the full-time gigging lifestyle. And when COVID hit and I couldn't gig out anymore, I just had nowhere to be for months. And I ended up learning about myself that I'm a morning person. And I never knew that because I was always out late up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, sleeping in, exhausted the next day.
Hmm.
Impossible to be a morning person. But once I stopped gigging out, I was like naturally waking up at 6:30 and I would just like want to read a book and get a coffee. And I
Hmm.
was like so zen in the mornings. And I was like, who the hell am I? Like, I'm the person who wants to sleep in as late as I can. But I learned this about myself that like I actually love waking up early. I'm the most productive in the morning from like 7 a.m. to 11
Hmm.
is when my brain is the most productive. And I used to just like sleep during those most productive hours. And I never would have known that had I not had the experience we all went through. And I feel the same way about Nashville, that I would never have known that I was living with like a baseline stress being up in Boston because it
Right.
just wasn't fitting with my personality until I left and felt the difference. And I'm just really grateful that I did that and that I learned that about even if I were to move back home someday or whatever,
Yeah.
now I know. Now I have the information about my own personality, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. It's it's interesting because I feel like during that time of our lives, we all learned a lot of new things about ourselves because it was the first time for most people. I'm not going to say all people,
Mhm.
where if you had to work or you were working remote or whatever, you were kind of at your own will. You kind of do whatever you wanted to do. Like for me, if I wanted to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, I could. If I wanted to be in bed by 9 p.m., I could, and I think during that time, some of us picked up some good habits, some of us picked up some bad habits. Sounds
For
like you
sure.
picked up some really good habits.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I hate to say it because it was obviously an awful time
Hmm.
for the world, but COVID wasn't terrible for me. I was living at home with my parents. I had a studio in the basement. We all just hung out at home all day. I was running errands for them so they didn't have to go out to the stores. And Steve, my husband, just like kind of moved into my parents' house for a while and we were just hanging. COVID was when I really learned how to produce my own music because I
Hmm.
had time. I had nothing but time, and all I had access to was my studio.
Hmm.
And I had a band before COVID. We were producing the music together. And so I had everything that I needed. I just didn't know how to use it.
Sure.
And I was stuck at home with nothing better to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try. I was writing a bunch of music. I was like, I'm just going to try to record it
Mm.
myself
Right.
and see if I can. And I learned so much in that time. And I learned that I was a morning person too. So for me, it was like, I don't know. I hate to say that because it was such a terrible time in
Yeah.
life all around. But I really tried to just make the best of it.
Right. And
That's
I,
a decent situation.
I feel like a lot of people try to do the exact same thing. To
Yeah.
go down the road of teaching yourself how to produce your own music, let's talk about this a little bit because I feel like a lot of people use the fact that they can't afford to go to the studio as a reason not to put out music. How
Mhm.
did you teach yourself to produce your own music? I have a feeling it's a very simple answer, but I'm just going to ask.
Yeah. Practice, trying things, throwing shit against the wall, experimenting a lot, making a lot of mistakes, and just continuing to try and to ask people. I would text. I have a lot of friends that are musicians, producers, just bugging them. Hey, how do you do this? Hey, this sounds like shit. Can you help me? YouTubing everything. I took a few courses online. I did a lot of learning, but it was very DIY. Like I wasn't taking courses. I wasn't like professionally trained. I, I definitely think some of it is like, I don't want to say comes naturally to me or just what I've been through as a musician
Hmm.
has taught me the skills. I took really quickly to writing bass parts.
Hmm.
I don't know why. I just always did when I was in a band. I always like had an idea. I would work on the bass parts with my bassist.
Hmm.
So then when the bassist wasn't there, I mean, I play guitar, so I know how to play, and I just had to work on my technique a lot, but I knew how to physically play the bass and I had practice writing the bass parts. I did the same thing with my drummer. We did a lot of co-writing drum parts together. So I bought myself a little drum pad and a drum kit where I could just mess around with it and play the beats in my head. And I actually played drums for a while as a child, so I had a decent understanding of how it
Hmm.
worked. A lot of it was just messing around and having things sound terrible and then listening to it and being like, "Oh, well, you know what could make it be a little bit better? Let me try this." And then maybe a little bit better would be to try this. And you really you can grow and evolve a lot quicker than you think you can.
Hmm.
It's not, I don't want to say like it's not that hard. Like I'm not trying to downplay the amount of work that I've put into this or try to make people who are struggling with it feel bad. Like I'm not
Hmm.
trying to say like, oh, it's so easy. But if you have the time to put into it, which luckily I did, that I
Hmm.
had time on my side, I had hours and hours without worrying about like, I was just like at home and I went from living at home with my parents to moving in with my now husband. I have always had time. I've never had a full-time job. I've always been a musician gigging out. So that leaves me a lot of time during the day to do what I want to do. Now I'm not learning how to produce. Now I'm producing songs and going on meetings and designing merch and I'm making music videos and I have all these other things to do. But I've just been really lucky that I've always had that time to work on it and experiment and just asking. I've learned so much by doing sessions with people here and there and just asking them a million questions while I'm in the session with them. And then you become friends. And then it's like, hey, I can't figure this out. Can you tell me how to do this? It's just constantly having that mindset of like, I'm gonna figure this out rather than like, oh, why is this taking so long? I give up. Like, of course, I've had some frustrating days and I'm like, I'm done for the day. I
Right.
can't figure this out. I need to walk away. But I never was like, I'm gonna give up if I don't figure it out. I was just like, I'll figure it out.
Hmm.
Other people can do it. Why can't I? That's always been my mindset with anything is like, well, if they can do it, what's so special about them?
Right. Right.
Why can't I learn to do it? And it might take a lot of time, and it did. I've been producing music. My brother and I produced my first album when I was 15. It sounded terrible. But we did it and I sold it. I printed it onto CDs and I sold them for $5 out of like a brown lunch bag
Hmm.
at school. And we just kept working from there. And there's a lot of songs that I've done that have never seen the light of day because I don't want anyone to. Like, it's not that everything I've ever done has been perfect by any means, but you just learn over time. And like we said before, you learn from your mistakes that you make.
Hmm.
And you say to yourself, okay, well, the next song I need to not do that.
Right.
So who do I know? Who can I call? What do I look up online? And there's so many resources out there. Like, aside from the fact that it is expensive, of course, equipment costs money. Um, but also, like, I haven't bought a piece of equipment in years. Yeah, you kind of just once you have it, you have
Hmm.
it. And of course, every once in a while, your computer will break, and it's like
Right.
this sucks. But once you have the equipment, you have it. Like
Hmm.
I've used the same interface and the same monitors for 5 years now.
Right.
I don't need to spend money on that.
Right.
So once you have the equipment, you can just mess around with it. And aside from that, like that's really the only investment you need
Hmm.
is like the initial
Yep.
getting started, and then you're just off. Just
Yep.
go and believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Believe that you got to have that mentality of like, why can't I? Why
Yeah.
can't I figure it out? And then you'll be shocked at how much you actually can figure out.
Right. 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 It's one of those things. Like the even scarier part about it right now is, like you were talking about, the initial investment of buying the equipment, like the interface, the microphone, the XLR cable, like all that stuff. But even right now, like in the last year or two, the that initial sticker price isn't as bad as it used to be because a lot of this stuff is going virtual. Like you don't necessarily need an interface anymore. They have virtual interfaces that cost, like, what did I pay for this thing? Like 700-800 bucks, whatever it is.
Mm.
And now you can get a virtual one and doesn't hardly cost you anything, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's also like I say this about guitars too, because people are always like, "Oh, I want to play. What should I buy?
Hmm.
How much money do I really need to spend?" And it's like buying a cheap guitar today is not the same thing as buying a cheap guitar 50 years ago. Like
Hmm.
today, they're made in factories. Like they're
Hmm.
being pumped out. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Would I want to record on a $200 guitar? Probably not. But like to learn, it's gonna be fine. You can find cheap interfaces online. You can find secondhand stuff.
Hmm.
Like my monitors, my speakers in my studio, I bought from my friend for like less than half of what he paid.
Hmm.
A year later, he wanted a different color. Okay, great. And that's all he wanted for them. And I was
Hmm.
like, so Could have bought them brand new, but so much of the stuff that I've gotten, I buy secondhand. I
Hmm.
buy them online. I wait until there's a deal,
Oh, I go
especially
to pawn shops. Pawn shops are the best.
I use Facebook Marketplace all the
Mm.
time. I've gotten so much gear on Facebook Marketplace. And a lot of it I've resold and given to other people. I don't need it anymore. But there's always ways to get it. There's
Hmm.
always ways to get what you need. Even like some of my gear is still back at home, and I've needed some stuff that I don't have here.
Hmm.
I rent it for the weekend for $100. That's
Yep.
not that big of a deal to go play a gig because I need speakers that I don't have here. So there's always ways that you can finagle it and make
Hmm.
it work. You gotta want to do it.
Yeah.
You gotta take it seriously, and it's always a work in progress. Like there's no like for me, there's never been like a am I doing this? It's like a what's next?
Right.
I'm doing it. So what's next? And then when you have that mindset, there's no like what if I don't? What if I don't? There's just none of that because it's like, well, that's not an option. I'm going to do it. This is what I
Hmm.
do. I love making music. This is my passion. This is my life's purpose,
Hmm.
and then you just find a way.
Hmm.
There have even
Absolutely.
been times where I'm like asking my husband, like, hey, can you get me this piece of gear for Christmas?
Right.
Like, use up my Christmas gifts to get myself a new
Right.
little pedal or something.
That's how my dad is at this point. He's like, "Hey, what piece of equipment do you want for your for Christmas this year?" And it's like, "Well, what's your budget?" Because
Yeah.
now the question is, it's like, "What's your budget?" So I
What's
know,
your budget? I love that.
because it's like, well, I could use this, but if you're not willing to spend like
Yeah.
eight, $900, you probably don't want to buy this. But yeah, so.
Oh, you got to get creative. Like I've even done that with my parents too. I'm like I would just love if you would like to donate
Hmm.
to my new campaign to buy a new microphone, that would be great.
Right,
And
right,
then get some money towards it. You
yeah,
gotta you get creative with
right.
it.
Actually, it got so crazy this year for my my aunt's like our family Christmas party on my dad's side. We started doing Secret Santa. Yeah, we started doing like a Secret Santa thing because the family's kind of just getting so ballooned out for everyone to buy somebody like a gift was getting kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So we just kind of started doing the Secret Santa thing. And my aunt organizes it and she's like, okay, give me some suggestions to what you want or what you'd want. And we started doing this live podcast thing where we go out to like venues and we do like a podcast in front of a crowd and whatnot. And I was like, well, I really need some new PA speaker stands because the ones I
Great
have,
gift.
right? It's like the ones I have, they're short, like they only go up like 2 or 3 feet. They're really kind of met for like a solo acoustic deal.
Mm.
So I kind of need those. And so I went to Amazon and I found a set. And the guy that got me for Secret Santa, he's like, I don't know what you're going to use these for, but this is what I was told to get you. I was like, nope, this is exactly what I wanted. Thank you. And so,
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's also just like you're always learning new things that you want, and you're always like, oh, that would make my life easier. Or
hmm,
like I bought like a mandolin a few weeks ago. I haven't even touched it, but I saw a good deal on Facebook Marketplace. And I was like, that's cool. I'll learn
yeah,
how to play the mandolin. Like that sounds so fun. And like those are the kinds of things that really make me happy. Like I just love experimenting
hmm,
new things, new tones, buying some new plugins
hmm,
online that I can mess around with, which I always wait until those are on sale because they go
hmm,
on sale so often.
right,
So you just got to be like, you got to be smart about it. And I mean, technically, you could look at my life and say I've spent all my money
mm,
on my music career. This is what I
right.
do. Circular motion. I make money, I spend money.
Oh yeah, right.
And some people would be like, "Why aren't you investing your money?" Or like, "Why?" This is what I do. This
Hmm.
this is what I do. I make music. I love it, and it's what makes me happy. This is my life's work,
Right,
and that just is what it is.
right. The one thing that I started doing, and this is kind of an ingenious, I don't want to call it a hack, but it was kind of interesting. So I live here in Central Texas, and we have a guitar center that's about a couple miles down the road from where I live. And a couple years ago, I went in there to go buy, I think, oh yeah, it was this mic cone thing, like
Mm.
like soundproofing for like voiceover and stuff like that. Um, I went there to go buy this. I was like, you know what? While I'm here, let me see what kind of mics they have. I don't really like going to Guitar Center just because I feel like they're overpriced and yeah, that. But I walked in there and they had this like clearance window or a clearance thing. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let me go look and see what they've got there. And they've got all these super high end mics for like 70% off because I was like, so what's the deal with this mic right here? Like, is it open box? Is it defective? Why?
Mm.
Why is it here? Or like, why is it in this clearance bin thing? And they're like, we've had that mic for 4.5 years. We can't sell it. We're just trying to get rid of it at this point. And I'm like, how much do you want for it? $20.
Okay.
Okay.
Sold.
There you go.
Sold.
They're
Guy in
like,
the back.
he's like, now that you bought it, what are you going to use it for? I was like, I do acoustic solo sessions all the time. This is the mic I've been looking for about 3 years.
Meant to
And
be.
it's one of those deals where it's like, I'm not going to pay $300 for it because that's what it costs, like brand new.
Mm.
And, but, like I just happened to walk in and you had it on sale for 20.
Yeah.
There you
Done
go.
deal. Yeah.
I couldn't really afford $20 at that time, but even at that point, it's like, here you go. If I was in a real sticky point, I'd just sell it on eBay and make a couple $100,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. And you're always when you're living this lifestyle, you're just always you're always looking out for things like that.
right, right. So kind of looking forward, you got new music coming out the rest of the year. You said about four more songs, right?
Yeah.
Sweet. I can't wait to hear it. And as far as like social media and stuff like that, where can everybody find you online if they are to kind of keep up to date on the new music and shows and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me at Natalie Joly, Joly, on everything, every social media. If you're interested, you can go to my website, nataliejoly.com. Everything's there, and you can sign up for my newsletter, which promise I don't spam you. I just send out information about my releases and music videos and stuff. If you're a Spotify or Apple Music listener, you can go follow me on there. I'm on all streaming platforms. And yeah, let's just stay connected. And thank you so much for having me. This was so fun. I always love coming on here, and I really appreciate all the work you do to support us independent artists. Trust me, on behalf of us all, we really appreciate you and what you do. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll have to try and link up in June because I'll be coming up for CMA Fest,
Oh,
assuming I get approved for press passes and all that stuff. But
absolutely. Keep me
yeah,
posted.
I will for sure. But once again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch y'all later.
Bye.